Hi there, I'm Jamie. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. This is going to be the wrap up of every single book that I read in May, which was 14 books. So I read a lot of really excellent books, some that like totally surprised me, and then I read some pretty significant disappointments and DNFs. So we'll get into all of that, but I'll start with just a breakdown of the genres that I read, of those 14 books, 6 were romance, 5 were fantasy, some fantasy romance, some just fantasy, 1 mystery thriller, 1 classic, and 1 just general fiction. 10 of those were books on my physical TBR, so get to take those off of my actual TBR, which is great. 4 of them were audiobooks, either through Audible or my library, and then 9 books, which are like encompassed in those 10, I actually did both physical and audio, whether it was at the same time or some physical, some audio. I've really been enjoying reading that way. Rating breakdown, 2 were 5 stars, 7 of them were some level of a 4-star, 4 of them were some level of a 3-star, and then I had 1 2-star, I believe it was like a 2.5 star. I'll start with the genres where I only had 1 each. So for the classic, Little Women by Louisa May Alcott, I give this a 3.5 stars. This is the edition from Book Outlet, which I think is so cute. I just love that it has the ribbon included in it. But I always thought that Little Women was like a really thick book, so I was really confused. And then I realized that some editions include, what is it, like Little Women and Good Wives, and then there's like Little Men and Joe's Boys, or something like that. So this is just Little Women. So I just read this. I listened to some of it on audiobook and it was fine. I didn't really have any familiarity with Little Women growing up. I know that like nostalgia is really important to some people. I've never seen the movies, which I want to watch now that I've had this as a background. But I do believe that's like the first 2 books. I'm not entirely sure. I clearly haven't watched it yet. I tried to keep listening to Good Wives because I know that there's like important things that happen in that, like integral to the Little Women story, but I just like wasn't interested. So I don't know, maybe after I watch the movie I'll want to keep going, but this was enough for me. I essentially was just like checking it off a list to say that I've now read Little Women. The next one I'm going to talk about is A 5-Star, Bertan by Fredrik Backman. This was so good. I tried to listen to this on audiobook a few years ago and I just couldn't get into it, which sometimes that happens for me with audiobook. So if you ever try a book on audio and you're like, meh, it might be worth it to pick it up. Happy Place is another one that I tried to do on audio and it just wasn't for me. And I came back to it and gave it a 5-star. It is excellent. This is about a hockey town. It's a very, very small town that used to be very, very good at hockey. They've kind of fallen off and haven't been as good. But they have another star player and star team and the chance at becoming champions, which the whole town is placing so much hope on this team of teenagers. They're young boys, they're like 16, 17, as young as 15, putting all this pressure on them to win because they're hoping that it'll bring a shopping center and jobs and just a bunch of funding from sponsors. Fredrik Backman, this is my second book by him that I've given 5 stars. The way that he writes about characters is just like you just get to the heart of them. I mean, there's like a scene in here where one of the characters is getting their mail and he gives you like a glimpse into like their thoughts and their feelings in that moment of just getting their mail, and you can feel it. I don't know how to describe it, but something terrible happens involving the hockey team and surrounding people, and it's how the team and the town are coping with that, the 2 different sides and viewpoints, how people can be torn between, you know, who is the victim in the situation. And it's just like a fascinating study, and it is heartbreaking, but it's so good. It is a trilogy. I do believe you can read it as a standalone, but I want to know what's going to happen with a couple of the characters that I just fell in love with. The last one of the only one I read in the genre was the mystery thriller. It was Love Mom by Ileana Zander. I gave it 3.75 stars. It's definitely interesting. I don't typically rate mystery thrillers very high. I don't know, and I think that's like, it takes a lot to impress people with a mystery thriller because I feel like my focus is more so on like the thrilling part of it and like the mystery part of it versus the writing. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of unique to mystery thriller. Like, if you guessed the ending, then it wasn't that much fun. I don't know. Maybe that's why I don't really read them very often. I also don't like being scared. This one was not scary. This is a story of a student whose mom has died. She's not close with her parents at all, but something mysterious is coming up surrounding the death of her mother. She's getting letters that are saying they're from her mom. And I don't know if I mentioned her mother is like an author. And so like a huge mystery writer, I believe. Mystery thriller. We just lumped that all together, right? This was the first book I read this month, so that's why I'm like, oh, I don't really know what happened. And I didn't love it, so it's like not sticking with me. I think if you like mystery thrillers, like this might be your cup of tea. But if you're like on the fence about mystery thrillers, then don't bother with it. Hopping into the romance books that I read this month, 3 were physical and 3 were audiobook. Let's see, the first audiobook is Out of the Woods by Hannah Bonham Young. I loved this. I gave it 4.25 stars. Great audiobook. This is about a married couple who you see in Out on a Limb. I don't think you have to read Out on a Limb in order to read this, but they are interconnected. They do talk about the other couple from Out on a Limb in this one. So it was kind of helpful to have a little bit of backstory, but not necessary. So they're a married couple and they're kind of having a tough time lately. So in order to reconnect, they go on like this, it's like Out of Bounds. Is that what that was called? It's like an outdoor hiking, camping challenge with other couples. And I, as someone who's been married for 6 years, we've been together for 13 years, there were just so many moments that were so relatable that it just like I connect with the couple so well. So I really loved it. It was a 5-star read for me up until like the very end because there's like an incident that happens. It just kind of felt like forced, which I guess all books are because it's writing. But I don't know. It just was like, okay. And then it just resolved like, I don't know. Something about it was just like meh to me. But the rest of it was so good. And like the relationships with the other campers and the leaders of the group. I don't know. I think they're probably psychologists or therapists. And the couple's like relationship was just so good. It was also like just very real and like an honest look at like a long-term relationship and what that looks like. So I loved this one. I think you'd like it even if you're not in a long-term relationship. I think you'd enjoy it. But if you are in a long-term relationship, I think that you'd really connect with the characters a lot. The next audiobook is Caught Up by Liz Tomford. It's book 3 in the Windy City series. I gave this 4 stars, which I'm actually shocked by. Like thinking back on it, I might bump that up to like 4.5 stars. It was so good. Like Liz Tomford she just writes such good romances. Like they just like make sense. Like comparing it to another romance that I read this month, I think I read them back to back. And so Caught Up, like their dilemma and the reason why they couldn't be together just was natural and like it fit and it made sense. And so it really helped with the tension and the distress throughout the story versus in this book, it was like, well, that's not really believable. Like, I don't know that they couldn't have worked through that sooner kind of thing. Regardless, ignore that one. We're gonna talk about that in a little bit, but Caught Up is so good. It's about, I gotta start looking at these characters' names. It's about Miller, who is a pastry chef, and Kai, who is an MLB player. He has a son and he needs a nanny to come with for the season so that his son can be with him and he's not away from his son. So one of the coaches has his daughter help out, but they like, we can't fall in love because I have to go to LA at the end of the season. Like I'm just here to help my dad out. And it's just so good. The little boy is so cute. Her relationship with the little boy is so cute. I listened to it on audiobook and It was pretty good. The only thing I would say is the male narrator would do this little like constantly, and I think that'd be annoying anyway, but I listen on like 2x speed, but the sounded like really weird on 2x speed. So every once in a while, like that would get on my nerves. The last audiobook that I just listened to is Summer Romance by Annabelle Monaghan. I gave this 4 stars. Super cute one. This is about a mom with 3 kids who is in the middle of a divorce, and her friend's little brother, she kind of runs into him, doesn't recognize him because she hasn't seen him since high school and had a bit of a glow up. So she kind of like hits it off with him and then realizes it's her friend's little brother. But he essentially is going to help her out because he's a lawyer and she's in the middle of this divorce. She's going to help him out because they're selling their parents' house. They have to go through organizing everything. And it's just a really sweet connection that they have. He gets her to try new things, really pulls her out of her shell. So he really helps her to discover herself again. But it's not like he did it all. It's like her discovering what she deserves. It was a super quick read. I think it's like 350 pages, but like the audiobook is like 8 hours. So on 2 times speed, it's only like 4 hours. So definitely a good one for the summer. It's a small town, so good summer vibes. As far as the physical books that I read The Deal by Elle Kennedy. This is the Off Campus. Why do I not know this? It's got to be Off Campus series, book 1. It's about Hannah and Garrett. This is written in 2015, which I love. Like, I was in college. I graduated college in 2013, so similar era. And I was a student athlete, so him being a student athlete, like, it just felt like familiar. And just the era in general, like, this just felt really nostalgic. Like, I loved this. I rated it 4.5 stars, but like, this might be a 5-star because I'm still thinking about it. And I read this at the beginning of the month. Hannah is acing, I think, a philosophy course that basically everyone else is failing. And the hockey player needs to get an A so he can pass, so he's not benched for big important games. And she wants nothing to do with helping him. She's busy, she's working, and trying to keep up her own grades in school, spend time with friends. She has a history of sexual assault. So just know your trigger warnings if that's going to be a lot for you. That's touched on quite a bit in here. But in order to convince her, he says, hey, I will help the guy that you're crushing on the football team. I'll help him notice you by pretending to date you myself. Spice level isn't too crazy. Like, I think it's a good amount. Versus Caught Up, that's high, very spicy. So maybe that's why I rated it lower. But like, hindsight, I'm not thinking about the spice part. It just doesn't like do much for me. I don't know. Like, a little bit's nice, but when they get like crazy, I'm like, this isn't necessary. I know that, like, I don't know. Everyone has their own preferences, right? Another one that I'm like, I can't believe I didn't pick this up sooner. Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. I rated this 3.75 stars. So, not a horrible book, but not a top favorite. Like, I'm probably not gonna really think much about this in the future. It's about Julian and Dahlia. They were childhood friends, and then they had a falling out in college, and they haven't talked in a decade. They're in a small lake town, and she's recently moved home because her fiance broke off their engagement because of her infertility. He took over his dad's construction company. Him and his cousin created some app, and now they're billionaires. But he does constructions, like does house flips. She has like basically an HGTV renovation show, and is now redesigning a house with Julian. So there are moments that I think of and I'm like, oh, I loved that. Like, he does get protective of her, which is really sweet. They played pranks on each other, and I thought they were like cutesy pranks, and actually, like, I laughed. I was laughing out loud. Like, they were funny. They could have been cringy, but I think they actually turned out pretty cute. I had a really hard time at the beginning because her writing style is just confusing. She has like really long-winded ways, convoluted, confusing ways of describing things. And so with like an info dump at the beginning, I was like, hold on, what's happening? Who's related to who? Like, I was like, are they related? Like, I couldn't. Both of their dads had died, but then a cousin was in there and his dad died, but they lived together. And then, I don't know, I was very confused. So that, it kind of got off to a rough start, and I had a hard time coming back from that. But I am going to read the second one and see if I like that one any better. The last romance that I read, I have not heard anyone talking about this, and I'm actually pretty shocked. This is Unromance by Erin Connor. I gave this 4.5 stars. Like, this really surprised me. It's a nice, short, quick, short and sweet. There's a meet cute between an author and an actor in an elevator, and they have a one-night stand, and she has no clue that he's a famous actor. He ends up reading her books and loving them. He recently got dumped by his girlfriend who he was acting with on the show. It was like a medical drama based in Chicago, which is where this is set. And so they agree to help each other out. He tends to fall in love like super quickly, and she is having a hard time writing a romance because her heart was broken by her ex-girlfriend. So they're gonna help each other out. He's going to help her see the romance in all these situations and take her through like every cheesy romance situation there could be, which is very similar to Summer in the City in that sense, but totally different books. Her goal is to ruin the romance in those situations for him. And it's just very sweet. They develop a friendship, and he realizes, oh shoot, I've fallen in love with her again. I would have given it 5 stars. The like third act conflict, she like totally overreacted, I thought. I was like, why are we freaking out about it? Like, this isn't as big of a deal as you're making it out to be. But yeah, super cute one. The first fantasy book that I read this month was Empire of the Vampire by Jay Kristoff. And this was excellent. Totally different than anything I've read. It's a story about vampires, shockingly. But it's told from the perspective, the main character has been captured, and he's telling the scribe his story and how he got to where he came to be. The characters are in here are just awesome. Like, the relationships, the characters, they're so fun. I don't think I said, I gave this 4.25 stars. It has illustrations, which are so fun. Like, how cool is that? The main character is half vampire. He is part of this group called the Silver Saints, and their mission is to kill vampires because vampires have taken over their realm and are basically wiping out all humans. I love the way that it's done with both like him training and learning who he is and, you know, finding his way and who he's going to become as a man. And then on top of that, there's also a journey in the future. It's still in the past, but very fascinating, very sad. Like, there's parts of this that are heartbreaking, but pretty fast paced. And like, now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I really want to know what happens next. So I'm excited to continue in the series. Definitely recommend it if you're into epic fantasy. A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I gave this 3.75 stars. There wasn't anything like wrong with it, but it also like wasn't like, I don't feel like I would have missed out on anything if I've never read this. The writing was excellent. Like, it was a very interesting writing style. This is about Dracula's wife, and it's written in letters that she has written about her time with Dracula. There are a couple other people that he turns into vampires, and so her relationship with them is very interesting. It is a very like interesting story, but I knew that I wasn't like super invested because there's like a bonus at the end of this that it wasn't on in the audiobook, because I think it's like this special edition or whatever, but an epilogue of a sort, and I like didn't care. I was like, meh. But it was a super quick one, so that was nice. And her writing was very cool. I'll give her that. I think this was probably my favorite read of the month. The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. I gave this five stars. Like, it was so good. I listened to it partially on audiobook, and the audiobook is narrated by Jim Dale, and he's just wonderful. I love that man. He read Harry Potter, and so this was very like nostalgic for me. It almost felt like a more whimsical mature Harry Potter. If you want to see more of my thoughts on this and a reading vlog, I did vlog this one, so I will link that below if it's up. If it's not, I'll add it later, so come back to it. The book that took up most of my brain power this month was The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. I gave this 4.25 stars. I'm sure by now, if you've seen my videos, you've heard that a lot of ratings for big books like this can be attributed to the time and energy it took to read them, but the story was excellent. I would say that it really picked up for me around page 500. So halfway through the book, the 1,000-page book, it really got interesting and then I didn't want to put it down. I would recommend listening to this one on audio while reading it. I could not listen to this solely on audio because of the unique names of people, names of places. Like, there's just so much world building and character building that, like, if I could not see the names with my eyes, then I'd have a hard time with it. But because I would read part of it, then I'd be able to walk away and listen to the stories of the characters that I was then familiar with seeing. I don't even know how to describe this. Essentially, there were a group of knights or warriors called Radiants in the past that were charged with keeping mortals safe, and they died out or they rebelled and they're gone. And now there are wars going on following the assassination of a king, and his brother is having hallucinations or visions. But then there's also the bridge leader, who is a slave, who was a former warrior. He's also a surgeon. And then there's these other two ladies that have magic. I mean, I don't know how you even describe books like this, but I need to find someone to give a synopsis of this. And then I've got a couple of disappointments. First is a total DNF, The Wrath of the Dawn by Renee Ahdieh. The reason why I DNF'd this was because I didn't think I'd be invested enough to give this more than like a 3.5 star. So I didn't want to waste my time because I have so many books that I'm like so excited to get to. So I'm just like meh about it, then I'm not going to keep going. Especially like this one is this one's older. I think it was on the height of like Bookstagram, 2015. It's YA. I also talk about this and why I DNF it in that same vlog, so keep an eye out for that. And then the last one, and this was so disappointing to me, Immortal by Sue Lynn Tan. This is probably the prettiest book I own, or one of them. I've recently got some other absolutely stunning books. I technically finished this, kind of. I got to 75% and then I was still just not into it. I was like, I can't do it. So I like skimmed the last 25% and, you know, so I gave it like a 2.5 star. I don't know that I can technically say that I can give it a 2. I mean, I could do whatever I want, but I didn't technically like finish it, but I was just disappointed. It is about this town, Tianxin, that the immortals have vowed to keep safe. The king has died and the throne has passed to his granddaughter, who he had to betray the immortals in order to save her life. And then the god of war rescues her from the Wuqin, the night demons. They're in leagues, whatever they are. And it's a love story about her and the god of war. And then there's some pretty interesting revelations about her past, but essentially he's trying to steal from her. So they're both trying to gain each other's trust. They're trying to steal from each other. So they're trying to gain each other's trusts and love. And the reason why I didn't love this is because so much happened, but it didn't make sense. Like you'd hop from one thing to another, and I'm like, how did we get here? How did we resolve where we just were? It hopped around too much. So like a lot was happening, but like nothing was happening. And the writing style, parts of it are very beautiful. I don't like the dialogue style, and that could be, you know, like the time, the era that it's supposed to represent. But I have a really hard time when authors don't use conjunctions. Is that what they're called? Like don't and can't. Like the character was saying, I do not know why you cannot, blah, blah, blah. And it's just, I can't listen to that. It just seems so like unnatural. But that could just be the time. Like that's may just be how they spoke back then. They used to take more time to say their words. So I am disappointed that I didn't love this. That is every single book that I read in May. Thank you so much for watching this. Please like and subscribe. And if you haven't taken a look at my June TBR, take a look at it here and you'll know what to expect in my June wrap up. Thanks guys, have a good one. Bye.